in conversation with Neeraj Aggarwal, who leads Asia Pac for BCG. Thank you very much, Neeraj, for talking to Money Control at Davos on a snowy evening. So,
My pleasure.
I know you got in just a few hours ago, but give us a sentiment check of what you're picking up. I think this time a lot of thrust on geopolitics, AI, macros. Obviously, people will talk about uncertainty. But what are you picking up on the world as well as India?
So, look, firstly, pleasure to talk to you. I think if I was to summarize my take on three big macros, I think we are entering what I call a G0 world.
G0.
Yeah. So what do I mean by that? I mean, I think we talk about G7, G20, whatever. I think we're entering a world where people are recrafting the relationships.
Deglobalization.
No, it's not. I wouldn't say deglobalization. It's a new form of globalization, I would call it, because I would hesitate to say deglobalization because people are forming many-to-many relationships. It's not the historical order, but that's one thing which is happening. We're also possibly entering what I call a T3 world, which
You're
is
full of acronyms
no. I
today.
just thought about what I will tell you. So, which is basically means in technology, U.S., India, and China will play a disproportionate role in the world of tomorrow. I think those two are big changes to my mind, both the G0 and the T3. And beyond that, then, I mean, if I may, I think we should not forget the demographics which work in favor of some countries and which work against. I mean, they're very different demographic starting points of countries. And we cannot, I mean, I can talk about interest rates and inflation and other things, but I think to me, the big macros is the geopolitical change, the technological kind of concentration. T3 is that US, India, and China will play a disproportionate role in shaping the technology. These three countries, there will be many other countries which play a role, but these three will play the most defining role in technologies of tomorrow, I believe. And that was not the case some time ago, which I definitely believe is something quite profound.
Right. And what role is AI going to play in determining, the powers? Because one interesting aspect that I found in the WEF Economist Outlook is while generative AI will increase productivity, it's going to benefit the high-income countries more than the others. So do you think there will be some divergence there in which countries benefit from AI, which countries don't?
So firstly, I genuinely believe that this is a big change, right? This is akin to an industrial revolution, a once in a multi-decade kind of a change. So this is not an incremental change. This is not blockchain. This is not something else. This is a big change. Yeah. Whenever there's a big change, there's always myths and there's realities, and nobody knows. I don't claim to stand here and say, oh, I know it all, or for that matter, anybody knows it all, right? I mean, I think these things take some time to play out. That being said, some things are becoming clearer. To your question about will some countries benefit more than the others, I think there are three key changes which happen with technology like Gen AI. One is what I call everybody can have think of it like AI assistant. All of us can have. So that is in our day-to-day tasks, email writing, summarizing, you think about it, right? And that makes all of us a better version of ourselves. So what it does is it makes everybody that much smarter, which is a very important thing, and can also be your language does not become a hurdle anymore. So if I'm not fluent in English, for example, if I'm in a vernacular language, suddenly those barriers go away. So that by itself actually benefits somebody who could be even less privileged than more privileged, because you have an AI assistant which is available to you, and you can reduce the barriers. So I think that's one thing. It also enables at a more fundamental level reshaping some of the functions. Like think customer service, think marketing, many of the others, right? You can think of a CEO who wants to get feedback from 100,000 employees. And historically, it was not possible. Now everybody can. The Gen AI tool can process it. So it's just reshaping some, or a politician who wants to get feedback from 1 million constituents, or whatever the case may be. Something which is not possible, it is reshaping and it becomes possible, right? And I will come to the last part which I'm most excited about. It allows you to invent things which were not even there before. Why is that important? So it is important because I feel in the healthcare side, just to take an example, you could solve problems which are not solvable before. I think we will find a solve for cancer in this decade, I feel, because of this. We could find more cure for unique take India, diabetes, which is a very prevalent disease. Maybe our odds of managing diabetes, etc., improve with this. Just as an example. So back to that, healthcare by itself, which is an important problem. I think Gen AI will help deliver better, and that. And actually, I will also talk about education, where it will help deliver better. Public services help deliver better. So I feel it will benefit all. If at all, most of the time I've seen technology helps the less privileged to leapfrog more. And if I was to be a believer, I would certainly think there's a lot of room for benefits there, which are possibly, I do not know if the relativity is easy to establish. I think which lifts the bar much higher for everybody.
Right. Neeraj, what are one or two things that India needs to get right? It's got many things right. In terms of growth, yes. In terms of growth, or to aspire to that prediction which IMF has given, that it'll become the third largest by 2027 from fifth largest now. What are the one or two reforms or one or two changes that we still need to undertake? We've come a long way, but one or two things that could turn the wheel in a big way.
Look, I think the third largest economy is pretty much the momentum case will likely get us there, right? I mean, I think it's possibly it's a question of what will take India beyond that to a middle income country. I think that's probably a more germane question than getting to the third largest itself in my mind. Because India moved from $2 trillion economy to $3 trillion economy in the matter of 3 years. I think if we do the maths at some reasonable numbers, somewhere between 7 to 8 trillion of GDP by 2030 is definitely possible, and by 2027 more than 5 trillion, which is what you're alluding to, is certainly possible. And what India has got going for it is, I think, infrastructure, which is both physical and digital. I think there's been a lot of improvement in that. There has been what I love about it is the competitive federalism. If you walk around Davos, you see different state pavilions. So a Tamil Nadu can aspire to be a Vietnam of India, a Gujarat wants to be something, Andhra wants to, you name it, and you can start seeing that. You see a lot more confidence in people. Small town kids can imagine, dream big, and capital will follow to support that. And I think there's also affluence happening in India, which allows new industry. You can see that there are, I mean, I think whichever number you take, we do the Center for Consumer Insight, which says how many households live affluent, and I think that number is rapidly increasing. So that increases, that creates a virtuous cycle of its own. So all of those factors are good. What can things to watch out for? I certainly feel we still need to worry about some very important things like cities. Living in cities still is not perfect.
Tell me about it. I can tell you about the
pollution and water are important things. We cannot lose sight of those. Those are, I think, if we saw, qualities of living. I think I would focus we should not ignore those in the light of the other things.
Right. On that note, thank you very much for talking to us, Neeraj.
All right.